Hi friends, today we are going to discuss the send data and the data from parent component to child component and vice versa, and child component to parent component. We are going to see these things. First, we are going to see the architecture of that, how to send the data from parent component to child component. This is a parent. Another one is like if you delete this one, I'm going to take Control D, Control D to duplicate this. This is a parent component, this is a child component. Here I'm going to write the parent component. Duplicate, remove. Here I'm going to write the child component. Child component. From parent component to child component, we are going to pass the data using the props, using the properties. Props as a values from parent component to child component. We are going to pass as a props as a variables. Props variables we are going to pass. If you take this one, props variables, props variable. If you want to pass the child component to parent, child component to parent, we are going to pass the function call, function call or props function call, props function call. From parent component to child component, we are going to pass as a props variables. Like we are going to pass like variables like number, strings, or state variables like arrays, state variables. Like we can pass the arrays and objects also. If you want to pass the child component to parent component, like vice versa, we are from parent to child. We are going to from parent component to child. We are going to pass as a function. That function we are going to call in the that function we are going to call in the child component, where we are going to call that function in the child component, and with the function call we are going to pass some data in the child component. That is the uh, like feature we are using, right? That is the strategy we are performing in passing the data from the function parent child component to parent component. We are going to see while doing the coding here. Here we are going to create, not here, in the in the components we are going to create one props and states. Props and states. Here we are going to create two files called parent comp.tsx, sorry, JSX, another one here, RFCE, and another one more is child component.jsx, RFCE, child component. This one I'm going to take in the first I'm going to take the React fragment, then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to inject that child component here. If you want to see this parent component, we are going to in the main.jsx, we are going to, instead of this app, I'm going to inject the parent component. to the parent component. If you run the project, project is running. If you want to restart the project, npm run dev. Project is running. Go to the here and open the new tab, localhost 5173. 5173. See, parent and child components are there. If you want to make it styles, I'm using the Tailwind CSS. Remove this one and open this one. If you want to take div, div here and div here. Child grid system I'm using grid of calls of 2. Grid of calls of 2 in MD. Grid of calls of 2 in remaining calls of 1. And I'm using the some gap also. Gap is I'm using here 6, 8 I'm using instead of this. This one is one div, this one is one component. Actually, think this is a parent component data. From here to here we are passing. From here parent component to child component we are passing using we are going to create one state variable like input and set input. Set input equal to use state. In this div, parent component, write the total name, parent component, and I'm going to take the one input also. Type tst, type tst, and a placeholder, enter test, enter test. Here, before, after I will write the here one div from here. From here on change of event in passing into set input of e dot target dot value, e dot target of value. I'm passing this input into here, where in the child component input of input. Here I'm getting like a props. Through props, in this also I'm going to take h2 child component, one more input of type est placeholder, enter test, and here I will write after this here if the props dot input, we are passing input, there we are going to show this input props dot input, and we are going to one more thing here, we are going to write trim function. Here also trim function, trim method. You can call it as function or method, but trim method in the is a class in the strings. That's why we are calling the trim. Trim is used for the removing the left and right spaces, right tailing places spaces, and it going to remove the if you take the like strings like some message okay, like it will going to remove this space and this space. Trim behavior is to trim behavior is to remove left and right side spaces side spaces right side spaces. We are going to see the browser. Once open the browser, console, use state is not defined. Where is that? Here, use state. See, we are going to give some padding of 4. Okay, after this, class name, padding of 4, padding x-axis 4, y-axis 2, background of green color, rounded MD, width of acts with MD. Same thing here also. The child component also same class names. Class name defining instead of this color gray 500 here take 500 text color I'm giving here text 3XL font bold semi bold same color we are going to apply here also bold writing grid gap of 4 grid gap of 4 here also I'm going to apply px 4 py 2 rounded sm ZSM. If you don't like this here, you can actually P2 is okay. 6 I'm going to take. This here also made it as a 6. Okay. And the same content here, class px4 py2 and sm rounded sm. If you type here something like Marvel stories, Marvel stories. See, here it is visible that how we are passing using these props. Input as a props, input variable. Actually, it is variable. We are passing as a props. If you want to, if you want to take the data from the, like if you want to send the data from the parent component, child component to parent component, we are going to pass like a input to set input to equal to use state of empty. Here I'm taking use state of empty. I'm taking input to input to dot trim. This here also I'm using the trim method for the removing the left and right spaces. I'm giving here some vg2. I'm going to give padding to and background. Background I'm going to give the orange. Test white. Same I'm going to apply into the here also, where that save the also class name and child component. If you reload this here, but we are getting data from parent component. We are passing data from the parent component to child component. But that how we are going to take data from the child component to parent component. That's why we are going to pass here from the parent to child. We are going to pass as a function as a parameter. That function we are going to call in the child component with some property, with some parameter, where we are going to call here on change of event. We are going to call props dot set input to. We have passed here input 1 or input. Okay, input 2 only we passed it. This input we are going to take, and here also in the child component props dot input to e dot target dot value. We are going to get this one. If you try to book of, we are getting like, okay, book of records. We are going to outline none, make it as outline none in the both sides. Book of records. See, if you type here, that data is passing to the here, like child component. If you pass here, Marvel stories, Marvel stories, Marvel stories of, Marvel stories are powerful. If you pass, if you type here, the data is passing here, like how it is passing. we are calling this into the, we are calling this, where we what we are calling here, this insert input to, we are calling into the this here, where child component we are calling set props dot set input to. Through this we are passing as a event dot target dot value. This value is passing, it is going to the this input to, we are displaying here. Like that, we are passing from the child component to parent component and parent component to child component. We are using this strategy for passing data from the child component to parent component as a function call. That function we are calling in the but we are passing the function as a parameter, function reference as a parameter to the properties. In the props, we are calling that function in the child component. Actually here we have passed as a function reference. Actually you can think it is a reference only, like it is a reference of function reference, you can call as. Here we are passing as a props, where we are calling that function in the props dot set to in the child component. Props dot set to in child component, we are calling that with some input value. Actually, if you refresh this one, if you type something, uh, Spider-Man stories are powerful, powerful stories. See, Spider-Man stories are powerful stories. If you type here in the child component, Marvel stories are uh, high budget. Marvel stories are high budget. High budget. Okay. Budget stories. Budget movies. High budget movies. See, Marvel stories are high budget movie. We are getting from parent component to child component. We are passing the data. Child component to parent component. We are passing the data through function call. If you like my content, please like and subscribe my channel and support my channel.